All right, looks like everything's going okay. You guys there?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Now we got to just wait for the music to end. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll get going here in a second as soon as this music ends. It was a busy week. I didn't have time to figure out how to stop the music once it starts playing.
Next time.
Yeah, so instead I'll use this time to I went to the Phillies Braves spring training game at the Braves. It's really weird spring training. It whenever I've seen like Grapefruit League spring training ballparks, they always look like an eighth of the way full, and it just looks like boring baseball kind of. This place was packed, tons of Phillies fans. But anyways, the ballpark itself is really strange. It's their last year there, and it's like it's a mixture of a really generic, like, we're gonna add a couple of elements to make this feel old timey, but it's still like a small little baseball stadium, and then mixed with Disney. So it's really straight because it's on it's at the ESPN whatever, Disney thing is down there. And so you feel like you're walking through like Disney World or Disneyland as you walk around the ballpark. It's strange.
Weird.
Yeah. But an interesting thing. So I was there, and my former boss from the school district in the Quad Cities was there. So we met up and talked for a little bit.
And that was not pre-planned.
No, we just happened to be at the same game. I mean, we knew ahead of time we were both going to be at the same game, but...
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So again, if you're joining us, we're waiting for the music to end, and then we will start the podcast. There it is. All right. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Hi, and thanks for downloading this episode of the IVMB podcast. We've got another full week of Cubs spring training baseball to get caught up on. We'll share some of our general thoughts on the last week. We're also going to talk about some of the players that are lesser known names that have fans excited, and we'll discuss the roles those players may have with the Cubs and in the system in 2019. We'll get you caught up on where some players are with recovering from injury. Kurt will share more Cubs TV deal information, and the Cubs have strengthened their system by trading for one of their own draft picks. We've got lots to discuss on this episode. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Corey, and I am joined by the other two hosts of this podcast.
Hey, it's Andy.
And Kurt.
We are streaming this recording live. You can watch on Sunday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Central on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/IVMB podcast. On Twitter, we are at IVMB. And on YouTube, you can go to ivmb.com/YouTube, and that's where these episode recordings are streamed. So, Kurt, why don't you get us started? Oh, I can't go to the scary stat noise because the music is still playing.
Do we want to just sit here in silence?
No, it's all right.
And
go
wait
ahead.
For it.
No.
Okay, well, I want to talk about Nico Hoerner, and I know Andy's going to talk about him a little later, but maybe it's a good setup for that segment. But, yeah, he's just been on fire. Last year's first-round pick out of, is it Stanford? I think it's Stanford. But he hit his first spring training home run Saturday. And now in just 10 plate appearances, he's got 5 hits, a multi-game cycle, cycle but not in one game. He's got a walk, 3 RBI. He's scored 4 runs, and he has not struck out. And he at one point in that stretch, he reached base 8 straight times. So not a bad start for the first round pick. And I think this is kind of a fun point where scary stats are very skewed, but also kind of cool that a young kid is tearing it up so fast.
Yeah. So I guess let's just kind of get into our general thoughts on spring training. I still haven't. I was busy out of town all week down in Florida, so I still didn't get to watch very much, just a little bit here and there. But you guys have any thoughts in this last week, or just kind of like starting to put together spring training as a whole?
I can't wait to ramp up my my consumption of games. I just haven't been able to see or watch too many, but so far, um, there's a lot to like, from various aspects of the Cubs. For example, I like what I've seen from Albert Almora. He's done pretty well so far. He's 8-24 and has only struck out once. So I'm looking to see him not strike out so much. I think for him to work good at bats and not get rung up much, exactly what the Cubs need from him. Um, I am operating. I've been operating under the idea that Caratini also isn't as bad with the bat as people might assume. So I've been kind of just paying attention to how he's been doing. He's 7-21, but has struck out 3 times. So he's been hitting the ball though. And then I'm also just kind of keeping an eye on the bullpen, especially with the injury problems that the Cubs have. So looking for guys like Edwards and Cishek to get sharp here, or appear sharp, especially as we get towards the end of spring training. But Edwards and Cishek have both pitched 3 scoreless frames. Cishek has walked 1, and Edwards hasn't walked anyone yet. So that's what I like to see from Edwards, and hopefully he can continue that with that streak. The Cubs don't appear to be in any rush to get Strop a lot of innings early, which I think isn't a bad idea. He's only appeared in 1.2 so far. And finally, I'm just kind of curious with Chatwood. He's only walked 1 in 8 innings of work. So he looks like a guy that has something to prove, I guess.
Yeah. I guess mine is, given that they put so much emphasis on increased production from guys already on the roster versus big free agent spending. I think it's kind of interesting to look at some of the guys that might be able to increase that production. A couple of them being Schwarber and Contreras. They're both hitting the ball really well. Schwarber doesn't have a home run yet, but he does have 4 doubles, and he's just getting on base a lot. I think he's 9 walks now. So his OBP is 640. That's pretty good. But, such a few limited number of at-bats. And then also Contreras is hitting the ball really hard too. He's got a couple home runs and 3 doubles. He has struck out a bit more than you'd like to see with 7. And, like you said, spring it's early. There's not a ton to read into, but at the very least, I think this is a good confidence boost for those guys going into the season. And also, like, this is what they're capable of when they're 100% fresh. They're totally fresh. They're rested. There's no fatigue, and they're doing well. So those are the kind of highlights. The other one, Happ, is struggling. He's just 3 for 28. But again, I think you could, say as much about the bad performances as you do the good, that, that could flip tomorrow. But like I said, I think that there's some good things to be seen there.
Small sample size forever.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because we can you can be excited about good performances in spring training and dismiss bad performances in spring training. And those two things can actually kind of coexist and without you being like a total, Pollyanna, like everything is great, but I don't know, there are things that you can dismiss, and it's like, well, obviously this, and the same way. I mean, it's I can get into later. We'll talk about the players that people are getting excited about. Like, for example, Mark Zagunis, who I'm going to talk about. Before today's game, I didn't know how he did today, but or if he played, but he was hitting 364. Well, I'm pretty certain that that is not going to continue, but
never know.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let's do this, man. We're getting really crazy comments. I gotta edit here because I need to figure out how to ban. Weird. You guys want to sell your DNA? There's also okay. All right, so well, especially if you're watching on our Facebook and you can see the comments. I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay on top of this. Man,
Facebook.
crazy. Yeah, I know. I hate to say no comments allowed, but all right. Sorry about that.
Alex is here. Maybe he can help.
All right, let's get back on track here. Do my edit point. Yeah, I think that I don't know. I keep going back to this. I feel like I've talked about the last few episodes, but I'm really interested in just the starting pitching right now. So we've seen 3 starts from Lester and Hendricks and 2 starts from the other starters. And again, like I've said, I just want to see the starting pitchers start the season healthy. And I feel like the only one I really worry about is Lester. And maybe that's just because of that dead arm situation in 2015. I can't believe that was 4 years ago. And I'm holding on to I don't know, what was he on the DL for at that time, the DL for, I don't know, 2 or 4 weeks or something. And I'm like, oh, that dead arm, it's going to come up in spring training. So I guess other than that, he's really my one concern when it comes to in looking at, partially that's also because of his age. But if and I think that overall we're seeing good pitching and good results from the starting pitchers. Darvish pitched well in his last start. I think it was last Sunday against the White Sox. I don't see a lot to be concerned about right now with the starting pitching, and I'm not even that concerned with the fact that Lester has been giving up runs. So he's gone 8 2/3 innings in those 3 starts, 7 hits, 8 runs. That doesn't really concern me, especially early in spring training. And I just think it's a good sign that these pitchers are making the starts that they're scheduled. And I think how things go with the rotation is going to have a big impact on the overall success of the team. And so I'm encouraged by what I've seen so far this year from the starters.
Yeah, and I think the umbrella over all of this conversation is that everyone stays healthy, get to the work in, and start the season, because all this gets wiped away to zero.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So every spring there are those younger and lesser known players that just perform really well and fans get really excited about, and fans even suggest that these players should take the starting spots from established players who maybe aren't seeing inflated spring training stats. And some of these, some of the flashy numbers from younger players are easy to dismiss, and some are signs that players are making good strides in the system and could be important pieces down the road. So I thought we could just maybe each choose a player that has been getting more attention this spring, a lesser known player or a player from the system who is getting attention because of what they're doing on the field.
Yeah, Kurt already mentioned the torrid numbers of Nico Hoerner this spring. And finally, I mean, it's just been an abnormality. The Brewers got him out today. But at one point, he had reached base 8 straight times prior to today. Strengthening the notion, what is known about him, that he is a great contact hitter. I saw an MLB article that gave Madden's perspective on him, and Madden was already impressed by what he'd seen so far, but Madden also had the assumption that Hoerner was just great at getting to low pitches. So Madden talked about how he was interested to see how he'd do against a guy who relies on elevated fastballs, and Hoerner finally saw a pitcher like that today, and he hit a triple off of him. I guess that was yesterday. But Hoerner is also an agile defender, so if he can hit for average, and also show a good glove on the infield, man, I mean, he could move pretty fast through the system, I imagine.
Yeah, I think, and I saw Sahadev Sharma tweet about this today, and I didn't really, after Hoerner was drafted, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to where he was. And he was kind of suggesting that, I think he only made it up to like South Bend. He didn't make it to Myrtle Beach last season. So he was saying it's kind of unlikely that he would just skip high A and go straight to double A. We could see him start the season at high A and make an impact and, put up some gaudy numbers and then get promoted to Myrtle Beach right away. But, it's not like, hey, maybe, I don't think it's realistic to think, hey, later this season, he might be a late season call-up. I think to race through the system like that would be, out of the ordinary and probably not likely.
Yeah, that would be crazy fast. But yeah, even sometime next year would be a pretty fast track. But this has kind of been their track record of these college hitters who are pretty much close to ready, and you just get them through the system and get them up. So,
yeah. So I mentioned Mark Zagunis, and he's a name we're pretty familiar with because he's been in the system since 2014. He was he's come up through as an outfielder. He did some catching early on. In fact, I remember watching him. I think I was maybe with you, Andy.
We saw him catch John Lackey in spring training one year.
Yeah, and I feel like we even saw him catch before that too. So but right now he's primarily a right fielder, but he's having a really good spring. Like I said before today's game, he's played in 9 games, 24 plate appearances, and he had a slash line of 364, 417, and he's slugging 733. He has 8 hits in spring training, and 5 are extra base hits, 3 doubles and 2 home runs. So while he did make his MLB debut, he made it in 2017. He's spent brief stints with the Cubs. He has 24 Major League Baseball at bats. So he's obviously not starting the season with the Cubs. And if he does, things have gone terribly wrong. But I have no doubt there are fans at Sloan Park, drunk on the sun and other things, saying, oh, this kid's hitting 364. Hayward's barely over 200. Zagunis should be starting in right field on opening day. Give it to a hungry kid. And yeah,
you just made the case right there.
Right. Well, he's hitting the ball well this spring, sure. But he's also doing it off pitching that is under the AAA level right now. By the way, if you want to try to put like spring training stats into context, on Baseball Reference for spring training stats, they have an opponent quality rating, and that gives you an idea of what level of pitcher a batter has faced in spring training and what level of batters a pitcher has faced in spring training, and that really does help kind of put those things into context. So I think while Zagunis isn't going to pressure any roster decisions right now, I think he's just good outfield depth to have waiting in Iowa, and if the Cubs need him later in the season, or potentially a 4th/5th outfielder trade piece if the Cubs need to address roster deficiencies during the season. So but at any time, I think Zagunis is someone that the Cubs, they're not going to get like a haul for Zagunis, or, they're not going to like bring in a ton of players in a trade for Zagunis, but I think somebody driving up their value in spring training, or he's not hurting his value in spring training, I guess, because front offices are still going to obviously say, well, he did it off below AAA level pitching. They're not going to be tricked by that. But I think him performing well probably does help the Cubs in as far as what his value could be in a trade. But yeah, I don't think he's going to unseat Jason Hayward in right field on opening day. And like I said, if he does, things have gone way wrong. So,
well, on the pitching side of things, Allen Webster's kind of been an interesting guy to watch. He was one of those. Well, he did appear in 3 games for the Cubs in September last year, so you may be slightly familiar with him. But he was one of those guys who was a really good prospect coming up, and then was derailed by injury. So before his appearances with the Cubs last year, he hadn't appeared in the majors since 2015. So he's one of those kind of rehab projects. But now he's having a really nice spring, and they like what they see. He keeps getting multiple inning appearances. Friday he pitched 2 innings and gave up just a hit, which I think was like a little dribbler. It wasn't, much of a hit, and also struck out 3. He's pitched 7 innings total, and he's allowed just 2 hits, a home run, and struck out 8. So it looks like he definitely has the stuff to compete for a bullpen spot. I think the big challenge for him is that he has no options. So he's either going to make the roster or he's not, which, is kind of a tough spot if you're in his position, right? Like, you could pitch lights out and they could still say, yeah, you did great, but we're going to go with what we got. So if my understanding of these minor league deals is correct, that if he doesn't make the 40-man roster, then he could sign with somebody else. Is that accurate to your understanding?
I'm sorry. I was over banning people in the chat.
but on the minor league deals for a guy like this, like if he doesn't make the 40-man, could he then sign with somebody else? Is that how these minor league deals work?
Yeah, I think so. I think yeah.
Yeah. So at the very least, he's pitched well enough that somebody else is going to be interested in him, probably get snagged away, but you never know. Seems unlikely that he'd end up in AAA after pitching this well in spring, but yeah, I think he's at least putting some pressure on some of the established guys, and he maybe could get a spot. But yeah, it's an uphill battle for a guy like that, even though he's pitching really well.
Yeah. But it's exciting to see players. I mean, even though I don't think we get our hopes up too much or whatever, I think it is neat to see players, playing on a stage that they really hadn't been given that opportunity before, and making some waves. I think that's one of the fun things about spring training. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've kind of been doing an injury update, and again, I said, I just want this team to exit spring training healthy. But we know that not everyone is, and we even know what specific players will not be exiting spring training healthy. So how are things looking with injuries, Andy?
Yeah. So Brad Brock, we could start with him, I guess. He had mono toward the end of the offseason, which led to the restructuring of his contract. And I saw Brett Taylor reported watching him today and said he did not look obviously unhealthy, but that the command wasn't on point. So it's possible he's not ready for opening day, along with some of these other players we'll talk about, but hopefully at least not too long thereafter. But I got to imagine mono is kind of a beast to come back from, to rebuild your strength from. So,
right.
So we'll see with him.
Well, took out Hayden Simpson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't take him out. He didn't die.
Well, he didn't die, but
not that we know.
Yeah, but there were other things that were keeping Hayden Simpson from becoming a Major League Baseball player, but
sure,
mono didn't help.
No, not at all. So hoping for the best from him. Then we have Brandon Morrow, who's going to throw his first bullpen session probably in a couple of weeks. He's already been doing long toss, so I would expect later in April as the earliest for a return for Morrow. And so, I've already talked about how they've really limited Strope's innings in spring training. So hopefully he looks pretty fresh. I would imagine they'll ramp him up a little bit here, make sure he's sharp for the beginning of the season. But yeah, so that's the situation with Morrow, and hopefully, we see him mid to late April. But that's probably the most optimistic timetable. Xavier Cedeno has a sprained left wrist, which happens to be on his throwing arm. That wrist is attached to his throwing arm, and he's still 10 days from being able to resume throwing, and he will not be ready for opening day. So he was a guy that we were thinking would provide depth, especially with the status of, Morrow and Brock, but he's injured. So that's not helpful.
Yeah. Well, at least they have Dunsing, right?
Right. Yeah. And, Dunsing, we didn't talk about him earlier, but he had thrown clean innings up until today, I believe. I think he gave up 2 home runs in today's game. So, yeah, it would have been nice to have Cedeno, just to have another lefty in the mix in case Dunsing continues to look like he did today. But and then, speaking of lefties, Mike Montgomery also had a shoulder issue earlier in spring training. Don't you love that shoulder issue? You never really know the severity of it, but maybe he just had a zit on it. Or like
it rubbed in on his uniform at a really strange spot.
Ouch.
He had some like a patch of dry skin. They put lotion on it. They've been working on it. But yeah, so he's working on getting back to a regular program of spring training appearances, and he threw a simulated game today, so I expect to see him back in action soon. So that's all I've got for you for injury updates. But yeah, that's one of the storylines that I am really concerned with this spring training, is just seeing, especially the pitching come out of spring training looking sharp and injury free as a whole. I mean, at least the guys who are left.
Yeah, I guess if you had to think, like, especially with the bullpen, well, okay, so I think that it's important for the Cubs to come out of the gate strong, this season. I think that if they do this thing where they kind of like float around 500 for a while, and the Brewers or the Cardinals are playing well, like they're just, the Cubs are digging themselves a hole. I feel like whoever starts out slow in the NL Central in April, I think they're going to be in a really tough spot. And we've seen the Cubs come out slow. We've also seen them come out. It was the 2016 season that, they
pretty torrid pace.
Right. And so I feel that how they start the season is really important. And if they can create a little bit of a cushion, I mean, obviously I don't expect like a 3-game cushion to last or to be all they need at the end of April, but any cushion they can give themselves in April, I think is really important. And so on one hand, I think like, the team just needs to be like at full strength and really just set the tone for the season in April. At the same time, if you're going to have pieces of the bullpen injured, I guess I would probably rather have it at the beginning of the season, and rather than at the end of the season, and it's not like, oh, well, if you have injured pitchers in the bullpen in April, then your bullpen is guaranteed healthy in September. That's not the way it works. That's not how injuries work. I don't know if you guys knew that.
I didn't know that.
You don't get to decide when that happens.
Right. But like, I don't know. Well, maybe not having our best reliever at the time bat in September and injure himself running down. Geez. Maybe that would be a good thing. But
I thought you were going down a DL track, designated hitter track. But I agree with you that like it's not the end of the world if your pitcher misses like a 40-degree day in April, and it's like, that's tough for bullpens no matter what. So I think you're right that if you miss a couple of those to get healthy and finish strong, then I think that's better than late season stuff.
Yeah, but at the same time, you don't want to give up games in April. So I don't know. It's something where maybe the offense can carry them enough in April that they don't really need to rely on the bullpen in close games, and then that will give the bullpen time to get healthy, and for the bullpen pitchers, I mean, yeah. Anyways, I was going to take that down a strange path. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, what they need to do is play the hot arm and a pitcher that they don't really see being part of the bullpen once everyone is healthy, and just use them up. But I don't condone
like Chatwood.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, like, some of these guys that would maybe start in Iowa or would not make the team. I mean, that was a very flawed argument I was putting forth there. It was just a thought that I had in my head. But yeah, I think I think the bullpen could play a big role in how the team plays in April. And man, I just think they got to get off to a hot start. They can't, and I think that's what has been addressed in this offseason. It was that every game matters. A lot of what Theo talked about at the end of last season, and then that in that press conference that he did right after the season ended. I think they felt like they didn't really give away a lot of games, but they didn't like play with that killer instinct or that tenacity to grab those games and hold on to them. And I think that the team is maybe that's something that's more like on their minds, like to take advantage of every single game, because as we saw last season, a single game can make a big difference. And so I feel like that the Cubs as a whole are going to have, and I think Madden will manage that way more, and I think you'll see it more from the players too, not of hey, we're fine, we'll get them in the long run, but just no, we need to take advantage of everything we can get right now. So we have a new advertiser for the podcast. I mentioned this last week, and it's ESPN Plus. And so if you've cut the cord and you want access to sports, ESPN Plus is a must-have. I've had ESPN Plus for about 6 months. I think it's well worth the $4.99 a month, a gallon. You get access to live games, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, and the NHL. You get tons of college football, basketball, baseball, and softball games. Be really good, like here this week. Don't the NCAA conference champion or tournament start this week? Lots of basketball games on there, and you get all of the access to the ESPN originals, like the 30 for 30s. So this morning, I'm trying to watch more of the shorts. I don't know if you guys have watched many of the 30 for 30 shorts, but a lot of them are like 15, 20 minutes long. So it's not like, I'm going to watch this 30 for 30 and set aside 2 hours or whatever. It's really cool. So I watched this one today, and Delana had told me about it, but I'd never been able to see it. And it was called the Schedule Makers. Have you guys seen that one?
No.
Really interesting. Okay, so this couple, Henry and Holly Stevenson, I think it's Stevenson. They're a married couple, and they created Major League schedules without computers from 1982 to 2004. They created the schedules by hand.
Wow. Like on a paper?
On paper.
It was a beautiful mind situation.
Yeah. Imagine creating the schedule for 30 teams. That's 2,430 games in 180 days. And they had like all these like cities needed to be, or, a team needed to be on the road at this point because there was this going on in town, and so-and-so wanted a home game on the 4th of July for this. And it was like, it was fascinating. And it's only like 18 minutes long. So it's really good. I would suggest checking that out.
I watched the LAFC
I haven't started
show
that
they have on there where they're kind of documenting their first season in MLS, and the first episode was great. I really enjoyed it, so I plan on watching more of that.
Yeah, lots of really good shows on there. So ESPN Plus is available on all of your supported devices. It's also nice that you see fewer commercials. That's nice. So again, $4.99 a month. It's a great deal. Go to ivnb.com/ESPN to sign up. You're not going to regret it. They have a 7-day free trial, and you can cancel it at any time. So go to ivnb.com/ESPN to sign up. Okay, Kurt. We've been doing this for quite a while, and we're just going to keep doing it. What's the TV deal update?
Well, at least to my knowledge, there's nothing directly specific to the Cubs, but there is something later, but not necessarily to the Sinclair deal. But some news that came up in the last couple of days. So as part of the whole Disney RSN thing, and I'm not going to go into that detail, Disney's going to sell the Yes Network. And the bid, I don't think this deal is done yet, but the bid that seems to be going to win is basically the Yankees buying it back, along with Amazon, Sinclair, who the Cubs are going to be partnering with, and other investors. So this group's going to buy the Yes Network back. And I think that the most exciting thing about that is Sinclair is involved, and also Amazon is involved. And however you might feel about Amazon, this could be a really interesting sideway into getting us Cubs baseball, because it clearly indicates that Amazon's interested in streaming baseball, probably on Prime Video. So
you can get your games delivered via drones.
Exactly. drop it on free Amazon, whatever you call those things, fires.
What is that buzzing overhead? It's a Cubs game.
So MLB still retains the streaming rights, so the Cubs can't do their own streaming, but they could sell, or Prime and Amazon could carry the marquee network on Prime Video. So I think that's the initial thought, is where this could be headed, and I think this could be a really amazing workaround for this whole streaming rights issue. I don't know how blackouts would play into this. We'll have to see, but yeah, I think if Amazon starts getting into this game, or any of these heavy hitters, that's a game changer in a lot of ways, just because they have a lot of sway, and so they could make this thing happen. So I guess we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
The other some TV related thing is the Cubs are announcing a revamp of their YouTube channel, which I guess I've never really watched the Cubs YouTube channel. I guess there is one, but tomorrow that's going to be launching, and that's kind of their precursor to their new network, and that they're going to be putting a lot of their long form content there before the network actually launches.
You think they're going to have an intern film games on a phone? Maybe you can watch them on YouTube.
So, well, if you've paid attention to Cubs Productions or whatever they call it, they have really kind of stepped up the game with what they're doing. They have last year they showed a couple of. Do you remember that series they did on what pitchers do on their days off, and like what their routine is? And on day 1 they do this, day 2 they do this. Yep. I thought that was really interesting, and it looks like they're going to be doing those types of productions.
That's actually pretty cool then.
Right.
I look forward to seeing some of that behind the scenes type stuff.
They released a teaser video that you absolutely should go watch, because I think you'll be like, whoa, I didn't realize it was going to be this good.
Right.
But there's a teaser video. Yeah, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, guys mic'd up on the field. I saw that one clip. It's like Kyle Hendricks talking about trying to play Fortnite. There's some funny stuff like players' wives. I think KB's wife was there with Rizzo, and it's like a guest things about KB kind of game show. So there's goofy stuff, and there's a clip of Javi with puppies. And so there's really no better combination of things than Javi and puppies.
For it right now.
Yeah, there. So I don't know. I think that the production quality looked pretty fantastic based on the sort of little teaser video they did. So, and some of the stuff looked super interesting. Like I'd definitely probably watch a longer form version of that stuff. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, it could be fun. And it's a nice test session for them to use YouTube as a way to get started before this
figure out what
real network goes online.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I'm really looking forward to it. And the teaser video that you're talking about, I only watched my time was very limited, and I just clicked play, and I was only able to watch for a few seconds. But is that where it was like the off-season type stuff?
It had a lot of things. I mean, I think most of it was off-season, just because that's where we are right now. But there was a few. There was another clip about top 10 games from last year, and it was David Bodie talking about the walk-off, and so there's a pretty broad mix of content.
Yeah, it looked like they were maybe going to do a series on what the players do in the off season, and I thought that would be really interesting. At the end
there was, and it showed Strope dancing, and it was a clip of him talking about how much he enjoys life and how you should just live life, and that looked pretty awesome. So
and he's always struck me as a guy who really enjoys life.
Yeah. But
he's wearing his Believe hat and dancing somewhere. It looked awesome. I'd probably watch that for 30 minutes.
But and from a production standpoint, it looks really good. I mean, it's very well done, very well. It's edited very well. It's just it was a very
got
clean,
the money to put into it.
Right. Yeah. So, and I would imagine that, I don't exactly know the overlapping of technologies and stuff like that, but I think when the Cubs, this allows them, like you said, Kurt, to kind of test things for when they have their own network, that we could maybe see a larger expansion of that type of content. So
Yeah, this is what we'll see during rain delays.
Yeah, or in the off season, and
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it could be. I don't know. I think it's really I think it's pretty cool. So, I want to talk about Donnie Dewey's. Do you guys remember Donnie Dewey's? Is it Dewey's or Dewey's? I don't know.
Dewey's, right?
I think it's
And we
Dewey's.
ran into his mom one year at spring training.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this week, the Cubs traded Steven Ridings, who pitched with Eugene in short season A-ball last year, to the Royals for Donnie Dewey's. And if his name sounds familiar, it's because he was drafted by the Cubs in the second round of the 2015 draft. Dewey's made it up to Double-A Myrtle Beach in the 2016 season. And then right before spring training in 2017, he was
High A, right?
High A, yes. I'm sorry, High A Myrtle Beach, yes. Did I say Double-A?
Yeah.
Yeah, High A.
Wrong.
He doesn't even. Man,
I'm just saving you from any.
I'm not listening to that podcast. He doesn't even. He thinks Myrtle Beach is Double-A. So then, before spring training, he was traded to the Royals for Alec Mills, and so
they're like a Double-A team,
right? Well, last season he started in their Double-A. So, and he got off to a horrible start, but then turned things around in the summer, and then he was promoted to AAA. So
batteries are backwards.
Yeah,
like a Double-A battery is bigger than a AAA battery. Anyway, just thought I'd point that out.
So now he comes back to the Cubs, and I don't know. It would be my kind of overall opinion on this move is that it would be nice to see the Cubs not trade away pitching in the system, considering that is a weakness that the Cubs have had for a while in their system. But Ridings was a ways off, and he did have a lot of development to go. I think there's a lot of potential there. But Dewey's would likely start the season in AAA Iowa, and will be available if the Cubs need him, although there is quite a bit of outfield depth with the team right now. So it was kind of one of those things where I was like, oh, cool. I remember kind of being excited about him. And then I was like, wait a minute, but Ridings is a decent pitcher, and it feels like we need to build up that system pitching, and trading it away doesn't feel like the direction they should be going right now. But like I said, I mean, he was in short season A-ball last year, so it would probably be with South Bend this year. So he would be a ways off anyway. So I don't have anything wrong with the move. I think it's kind of interesting that they drafted somebody, traded him, and then got him back 2 years later. But
want you back for good. Okay, sorry.
So I was going to let you just keep going however long you decided to go.
You want more?
No, not really.
Once the music starts, you can't stop it. It's just like the mixer.
Oh man. Okay, so let's look at the week ahead in Cubs broadcast. The Cubs have an off day on Monday. Tuesday, they have a night game against the Reds at Sloan, and you would think that a night TV broadcast would be really appreciated by Cubs fans, but no, that is a Cubs.com audio broadcast. No offense to our friend Mick Gillespie, but it is on Cubs.com. Wednesday's game against the A's is a Cubs.com broadcast too. Thursday's game against the Rangers is also a Cubs.com broadcast. On Friday, the Cubs play the White Sox. You can listen to that on the radio, 670 The Score. The game will also be on WGN TV, and you can listen to the Sox broadcasters there. That is a Hawk Harrelson-less broadcast, so you can actually listen to it and maybe enjoy it.
Free?
Yeah. And let's see. Saturday's game against the Diamondbacks will be on the Score, and then Sunday's game against the Rockies will be on NBC Sports Chicago. Now, as far as IVMB goes, we may need to push next Sunday's episode to Monday night because Sunday is St. Patrick's Day, and I think at 8:30 on St. Patrick's Day evening, I will probably not be in live broadcast mode.
Condition?
No, I don't think so.
I think we should do it anyway.
No. I'll probably be asleep by 8:30. I'll be honest. So, so may have to push that to Monday night, but we will still do the live broadcast, I would assume, and we'll figure that out in the next week. But I will say that a Sunday night broadcast is probably unlikely. So let's end this episode like we end all of our episodes with a segment we call Ivy Miscellany, where we share other things that we are into, things that are not related to the Cubs. Go ahead, Andy.
Sure. I'm going to promote going to an MLS match. On Saturday, my son and I went to a Chicago Fire game, and it was really fun. Even though the weather wasn't great, we still had a blast. It was a good experience all around. This time we got dropped off at the game, and parking's always been kind of crazy at with the Chicago Fire. It's now called SeatGeek. What is it? SeatGeek Park or Field? Fudge.
It's all right,
but
because
anyway,
they're not advertising with us anymore, so you can call them whatever they want.
yeah,
You can call anything
Toyota
you
Park. But anyway, yeah. So the tickets, like, I actually spoke to a representative from the Fire who got a hold of me, knowing that I had bought a ticket last year, and so I bought tickets from him, and we got 2 tickets and 2 supporter scarves for $50.
Oh, nice.
And we were sitting, I don't know, it was in the 16th row up from the corner, basically. So we were right over where corner kicks were taken. And there really isn't a bad seat in the park. Like, it's all pretty intimate. It seats 20,000 fans, and I gotta imagine most MLS stadiums are kind of similar. And it really does feel like you can see everything really well, and you're kind of on top of the action. And
how many seats did you say they had? 20,000?
20,000, I think.
Yep.
They can see for a game.
And Atlanta had 73,000 at their match today.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I got to imagine the weather's a little bit nicer down there than it was for us.
It's in a dome. And
Yeah.
it was there, and they were like, raising the championship banner or whatever.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a great time. I mean, the halves go pretty fast. You got halftime, go get a snack. Mac and I went and got churros. So we ate churros during the second half. And all the staff there was really friendly. I think, the front office and the team has kind of got criticism before for not taking care of fans and various other things, as well as other franchises. And it seems like they're really working to turn all that around. And so I really found it enjoyable. And it even seems like they've, solved the parking beast to a certain extent. It's still a problem. But if you do plan on going to a Fire game in particular, you got to get there, try to get there pretty early, just to account for the time it'll take to park. And then you got to account for some time to get out of the parking lot. But once you're in the game, it's a blast. I love it. I can't wait to go to another one.
Nice. We're taking the girls to an FC Cincinnati game in 3 weeks in
Sweet.
Cincinnati. And then, I'm definitely, when FC Cincinnati is playing the Fire in July, definitely interested in that match.
Yeah, I want to go to that one too.
Yeah. Kurt, have you been into anything in the last week?
Yeah, it was my son's birthday this week, so I have to say I don't have a very good one. I also, related to that though, I will say, like, I'm a little behind on the soccer fandom, but just the sort of like exposure to it, when I see it on TV, I sit and watch for several minutes instead of just immediately changing. So just that, like, there's been a bit of a shift in my opinion. So I'm way more interested in it now than I used to be. So you guys keep beating that drum, and maybe I'll
I'm totally new to it.
Fan.
I mean, I was kind of like anti-soccer, and then I was just like, I'm going to do this. And I'm having a blast. I think it's really, I love watching it. I'm like starting to understand the game better and understand the terms and trying to like wrap my head around the strategy. But I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I watched a good 5 minutes of Arsenal United today. So, I mean, that's probably more than I've ever watched in a Saturday. Anyways, I'm getting more to it. My real one is I've been playing the ukulele a lot more lately. I may have shared this before, but it's somewhat similar to the banjo, and
some of these are evergreen.
Yeah, well, I'm doing it again. If I've shared it before,
Kurt, you're the most evergreen guy I know.
Yeah, because I'm tall.
I don't know. Because you're
tall and spindly.
No, because you don't get it. I don't know. I feel like you're just very stable. Like you're into what you're into, and like you're like Ivy miscellanies. Just are kind of like they're branches from the overall evergreen tree. Where like I'm like off in this field over here, and then I'm over there, and I'm all over the place. And you're reliable.
I get that way a little bit on YouTube, but I think I it takes a while for me to get really into something. But yeah, the uke is one that I really like. It's you can actually play clawhammer, which I play clawhammer banjo. You can play clawhammer uke because it's got a high G string at the top. So I like that. It's a lot of fun. So
So is the tuning? Does it go E, B, A,
No.
G?
Well, from top to bottom, it's G, C, A, E.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the same tuning at all from a banjo or even a guitar, but it's similar in that you've got that high drone string at the top. So, but yeah, I like it. And there's some really cool YouTube channels. Like there's this one called Oh shoot, no, I'm gonna mess up the name. I don't even know. But they do Aloha Friday jams every Friday, and they play it live on YouTube. And you can it's like going to a ukulele jam. But you can just watch it in your living room, and they teach you the songs.
Oh,
so
that's
a lot of fun.
So my youngest, she got a ukulele for Christmas, and she's been playing it. So I should show that to her. She'd probably like it.
Yeah, the guy who runs it, his name's Aldrin Guerrero. He's a really, really great player. And I can't even think of what the name of their channel is, but you can find it.
Cool.
Our school has a ukulele club right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, it's called Ukulele Underground.
Oh,
there you go.
Interesting. All right, so here's mine. I'm really excited about this, and I'm probably like totally late to the game. You guys are probably already familiar with this, and everybody listening is probably going to be like,
well, is it following hashtags on Instagram?
No. No.
It's a callback to last week's revelatory Ivy miscellany for anybody who didn't hear it.
This is the Interrupt Corey episode. So let's let him go, Andy. We're going to let him go for a little bit, and we'll chime in.
That's all right. That's all right. So I was in Florida, in Orlando for a conference, and I was hanging out with listener Josh, and our friend Joel. So we're hanging out down there, and Josh says to me, "Hey, you know what? I bet you would like. Have you ever heard of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard?"
Yeah.
So you're aware of these guys, Andy?
Yeah.
I was like, I thought he was messing with me. I was just like, okay, you're just making stuff up. Like, that's ridiculous. And so we went back to the Airbnb and we sat and watched their videos. And I can't stop listening to them. I can't stop watching their music videos. I'm really intrigued by them. So Andy, so what you're saying is this is something that like everybody knows about, and I'm like, I am late to the game.
I don't think everybody knows, but
at one point,
I don't know. I've heard of it.
Okay, so at one point, did you or my brother maybe text me a link about them?
It must have been your brother. I don't think I ever did.
Okay, all right. Well, never mind. Anyway, so if you're not familiar with them at all, this is what I would suggest. If you're looking to like, really vibe on something, I would watch these two music videos in order because it tells a story, the two music videos together. So the first one is called Gamma Knife and the second one is called People Vultures. So you got to watch Gamma Knife first and then People Vultures, and it tells an incredible story. And
if you watch them backwards, out of order, may God have mercy on your soul.
And you'll hear Satan talking to you.
But that's mine.
Nice.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
It's not a Jimmy Buffett cover band?
No.
That's what I imagine when I hear that name.
No.
Cool. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, I'm going to, maybe when we're done recording, I'll show it to you. All right, well, that will do it for this week's episode. Is brought to you by all of our Patreon supporters. We have one new supporter, and it is an anonymous person who is going by the name My Wife Left Me, although I know who they are. And I had an opportunity to meet this person after a Cubs game once. They live in Waukegan, Illinois. So my Waukegan fun fact is that it's reported that the only speech Abraham Lincoln did not finish was in Waukegan, and it's because a fire alarm was pulled when he was campaigning there as a presidential candidate.
I was thinking it was probably. I thought he was thinking it was probably because Kanye interrupted him, wasn't it?
They had fire alarms in 1860s.
Well, yeah, and I was like, oh, I bet somebody pulled it because they didn't want him to talk, I don't think that was necessarily the case because Waukegan was known for its abolitionist community. So I don't know. But anyway, that's my Waukegan fun fact. So thanks for that support.
And also, I would say that Ray Bradbury is the hometown of Ray Bradbury.
Right.
So
well, that was my number 2. I saw that and I was like, oh, that'll be my fun fact. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, this could be interesting.
Wait a minute,
Lincoln in a fire alarm.
Ray Bradbury.
Oh no!
Didn't you write Fahrenheit 451?
Yeah.
Yeah, but mid 1800s is a little bit before his time.
I don't think there were fire alarms then. Anyways, I don't believe it.
I don't know. It's just like I don't know. I picture it like in a cartoon where like somebody pulls like a bird's leg and it like starts cawing or something. That's a fire alarm. It's like a Flintstones fire alarm.
It's a Flintstones.
So, thank you for your support. If you like what we do and you'd like to become part of the IVMV team, visit our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/IVMV, patreon.com/IVMV, or visit IVMV.com and click on support the podcast. Ran out of breath there. Sorry. So, thank you for downloading and listening. Thanks to those of you who watched live. And until next time, go Cubs. All right.
So which one's first? People vultures or
now? You know what, Andy? I'm like really tempted. Like I if you can wait, I would love to watch it with you for the first time.
Oh, I can wait. So it's Gamma Knife and
People vultures.
Which one's first?
Gamma Knife is first.
Okay, I'll wait. I'll watch it with you. What could I watch in the meantime to kind of give me a sense?
Watch Rattlesnake.
Okay.
Actually, watch Rattlesnake right now and explain to me their guitars.
Okay, I see it.
Simple.
Okay, so far a lot of fog.
Rattlesnake.
It's like when computer animation was first made.
Right, yeah.
Whoa, yeah, that guitar is goofy.
Yeah, and like I watched them play live and they play those guitars. But like look at the fretting. The fretting is weird on them.
They so it looks to me like those guitars that have a lower profile body so they're easier to transport. On first glance, I just paused the video, but
did you look at the frets?
Not yet. So okay. I'm only 29 seconds in. But they have 2 drummers.
Right.
So
yeah.
Oh yeah, they're wonky.
Okay, so I'm continuing to watch.
Yeah, they're like oddly spaced, like wide, thin, wide.
Yeah, they
thin.
don't make any sense. Anyway, I don't think anybody wants to watch this, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast. So thanks for watching, everybody. And I can't stop the broadcast.
Yeah. What in the deuce? Yeah, like these frets.
Are all that even the bass like that?
The frets are weird as heck. What is the okay?
Right.
Am I high?
And that's how I'm going to end it. Have a good night, everybody.
That's the beauty of them. You're not actually high. You just think you are.
Okay.
Yeah, it's strange.
Custom guitars, different fret arrangements. Okay, so they do play custom guitars. I just gave it a goog on that.
Yeah, like they play live and use those guitars, but like in Gamma Knife and People Vultures, they're using regular guitars.
Well, okay, 7-minute song. Okay, here's a test for you.
Play the full 7 minutes,
7 minutes 49 seconds